Have you ever noticed how quickly a moment of anger can change the course of an entire day? One sentence said in frustration. One glare thrown in silence. One door slammed shut. And suddenly, what could have been a peaceful morning becomes a battlefield of tension. Your chest tightens, your mind replays the scene over and over, and you wonder, why did I let myself go there again? If you're over 60, you've likely learned that life is too short to spend it angry. And yet, the anger still comes, doesn't it? Sometimes quietly, like a whisper beneath our breath. Other times it roars, fueled by pain, by fear, by the longing to be heard in a world that often moves too fast to listen. After working with older adults for more than 3 decades, I've seen the quiet damage that unspoken anger can leave behind. But I've also witnessed something even more powerful: the peace, the strength, and the freedom that come when a person learns to master their own emotions, not by pretending they don't exist, but by transforming them into wisdom. Today, I want to walk with you through 7 emotional truths, messages that don't just tell you to calm down, but show you how to reclaim control of your inner world with dignity and courage. Whether you're 50 or 85, these truths hold the power to change how you handle conflict, how you see yourself, and how you find peace again. Let's begin with something simple, but deeply transformative. Done. 1. Anger is a sign of inner struggle. It's easy to believe that anger comes from others. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Someone speaks to you disrespectfully. Someone makes a careless mistake that affects your life. But the deeper truth is this: anger rarely begins outside of us. It begins inside. Anger is often our reaction to feeling powerless. It is a cry from the part of us that longs to feel safe, respected, or in control. And when we cannot get those needs met, frustration turns inward first, then begins to spill outward. I remember a patient named Walter, age 73. He was a retired electrician, a former Marine, and a father of 4. He came into my office with tension in his jaw and bitterness in his voice. His words were sharp, not because he hated others, but because he couldn't accept how weak he was starting to feel. I used to be the one everyone counted on, he told me. Now, they treat me like I'm just in the way. Walter didn't need more discipline. What he needed was compassion. Because beneath every angry outburst was invisible grief. The grief of losing purpose. Of losing physical strength. Of feeling forgotten in his own home. And once we uncovered that truth, everything shifted. He started writing letters to his grandchildren instead of yelling at them. He taught his neighbor's son how to fix old radios. His pride didn't disappear, but it softened. It matured. The lesson is simple yet profound. When we feel the urge to explode, we must pause and ask, what part of me feels unheard or unseen right now? What fear am I trying to mask with this intensity? True strength does not come from how loud your anger can be. It comes from how calmly you can speak when provoked. It is in choosing to protect your peace, even when others don't seem to deserve it. If someone wronged you and they truly were at fault, let time or justice handle them. But do not hand them your joy, your rest, or your health. Because if you do, they haven't just hurt you once. They've continued to steal from your spirit long after the moment has passed. The next time you feel anger rise like a flame in your chest, take a slow breath. Not because you are weak, but because you are wise. And in that breath, ask yourself quietly, is this worth the damage it will cause inside me? That one question has saved countless relationships, calmed countless storms, and may very well become your most powerful tool in protecting your peace. 2. Never act when you are angry. Wait for clarity, not just calm. There is an old Japanese proverb that says, the fiercest sword is not the one that strikes first, but the one that knows when not to strike at all. For years, I thought this was a lesson about control. But with time, I have come to understand that it is really about clarity. Anger clouds the mind. It narrows your vision and speeds up your reactions while slowing down your ability to reflect. In those moments, even the wisest person can become reckless. That is why some of the deepest regrets in life are born not from bad people, but from good people who acted too quickly in a moment of rage. One of the most powerful examples I ever heard came from an old samurai tale that I now share with patients whenever they tell me, I just snapped. In the story, a samurai was sent to collect a debt from a fisherman who had fallen behind. When the samurai demanded payment, the fisherman begged for time. He had had a terrible year, the catch had been poor, and his family had barely enough to eat. The samurai grew furious. His hand went to the hilt of his sword. But before he could strike, the fisherman looked him in the eye and said, "Sir, I too have trained in the martial arts. And my master once told me, never fight when your anger leads. Wait until your mind returns." The samurai froze. A memory of his own master saying something similar rose in him like a tide. He lowered his sword, gave the man one more year, and returned home. That night, as the samurai entered his house, he found what looked like a stranger lying next to his wife. A wave of rage surged through him. His heart pounded. His hand trembled. But just as he reached for his sword again, the fisherman's words echoed in his ear. "Never fight when your anger leads." So instead of lashing out, he made a noise and watched the figure in his bed stir. To his shock, it was not a stranger, but his mother, wearing his armor, lying beside his wife to protect her from robbers while he was away. In that moment, he realized that 1 second of blind fury could have destroyed everything he loved. Anger always demands action. But wisdom waits. It is not enough to simply take a breath or count to 10. You must give your mind space to see what your heart cannot see clearly in that moment. Because once words are spoken or damage is done, they do not disappear with an apology. Like ink spilled on silk, they leave a mark. The next time you feel anger urging you to move, pause. Not just for calm, but for clarity. Tell yourself, nothing good ever came from haste in the heat of emotion. Write down what you want to say. Go for a walk. Talk to someone wise before responding. Let time become your ally, not your enemy. Some of the greatest acts of strength are not the battles we win, but the battles we choose not to fight. And in that restraint, you don't lose power. You gain peace. 3. The more you let go, the lighter your heart becomes. Some people believe that letting go is weakness. That walking away from a fight or choosing peace over pride means you are surrendering. But the truth is, letting go is not giving up. Letting go is choosing to rise above. If you've lived long enough, you've likely held on to many things: hurts from family, betrayals from friends, misunderstandings that were never cleared up. These emotional weights do not just live in your memory. They settle into your body, your breathing, your sleep. They cloud the beauty of today with the bitterness of yesterday. I once worked with a woman named Evelyn. She was 78 years old and carried herself with grace, but something in her voice always sounded heavy. She told me she hadn't spoken to her sister in over 20 years. "She knows what she did," Evelyn would say, folding her arms tightly. But when I asked what she missed most in life, her eyes filled with tears. "Family dinners," she whispered. "Laughter across the table. That's what I miss." What Evelyn didn't realize was that her anger had built a prison. Not for her sister, but for herself. There's a powerful saying that resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. When we cling to anger, especially long after the moment has passed, we are the ones who suffer. Our hearts harden. Our joy fades. And we miss out on the quiet, healing moments that only come with release. Letting go doesn't mean you pretend the hurt never happened. It means you choose to stop carrying it forward. It means you stop letting it shape how you speak, how you love, how you see the world. Some things deserve to be fought for. But many don't. And the older we grow, the more we must learn to ask, is this worth my peace? If it's not, let it go. Let go of the need to be right all the time. Let go of the arguments that never brought resolution. Let go of trying to change people who don't want to change. Start small. Write a letter you never sent. Speak the truth aloud in an empty room. Go outside, feel the sunlight, and tell the past you are finally ready to live free of it. Letting go is not weakness. It is choosing joy. It is choosing your health. It is choosing to stop punishing yourself for what someone else did wrong. And if you find it hard to forgive, remember this: forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about your heart, your breath, your sleep, your life. Letting go is how we clear the path to peace. And in that peace, we become lighter, freer, and more fully alive. 4. Anger makes you loud. Peace makes you heard. When someone yells, we tend to back away. Not just physically, but emotionally. The volume may rise, but the message gets lost. Because the truth is, anger makes you loud, but it does not make you clear. Peace, on the other hand, is what allows others to truly hear you. There is a quiet kind of strength in people who speak calmly, even in conflict. Their voice does not shake the room, but it steadies the room. Their presence does not demand attention, but it commands respect. These are the people we remember long after the argument is over, not because they shouted, but because they stood firm with grace. I once visited a retirement community in New Hampshire where I met a man named Robert. He was in his early 80s, a former judge, known among the residents as the calm one. When others argued about policies, dining schedules, or shared spaces, Robert would wait. He would let everyone speak. Then he'd say, "Are we talking to solve the problem, or just to release our frustration?" That single sentence would reset the entire room. People didn't just listen to Robert because of his past title. They listened because of his present presence. Because in a world full of noise, calmness becomes power. When you raise your voice, you may get someone's attention. But when you lower it, you invite connection. You give others the space to breathe, to consider, to engage with what you're really trying to say. And when people feel safe in your presence, they are more likely to respond not defensively, but respectfully. Now let's be honest. Staying calm isn't always easy. Especially when someone disrespects you, or refuses to hear your side, or pushes the same button you've told them not to touch. But staying calm does not mean being passive. It means staying in control. It means deciding that your values will lead the conversation, not your temper. If there's something you truly care about, protect your message by protecting your tone. Speak clearly, kindly, and firmly. Not to win the argument, but to honor yourself. And when others shout at you, choose not to echo their chaos. Listen, if you must. Walk away, if you need to. But do not lose yourself in the heat of their storm. You are not weak because you choose peace. You are wise. You are the lighthouse, not the wave. The steady one in the room full of noise. And believe me, the world needs more people like that. The next time your anger begins to rise, ask yourself, do I want to be right, or do I want to be heard? Because the path to being heard begins not with a raised voice, but with a calm heart. 5. What you choose not to say can save everything you love. There is a kind of silence that is not weakness, but wisdom. It is the silence that arises when you realize that not every thought needs to be spoken, not every offense needs to be challenged, and not every emotion deserves the microphone. Some of the most devastating words we say in life come out not because they are true, but because we are hurting. And once released, those words rarely return untouched. They leave scars. Not just on others, but on our own hearts too. I once counseled a married couple in their 70s who came to me after a family gathering had ended in silence. Their adult son had made a careless comment about their age. Nothing cruel, just thoughtless. But the husband, who had always prided himself on being strong, felt insulted. He raised his voice in front of everyone and said, "Maybe we should stop coming if no one wants us around." The moment passed. The family dinner ended. But so did the warmth in that relationship. As he recounted the story to me weeks later, tears filled his eyes. "I didn't mean it," he whispered. "I just wanted to feel respected." His wife, sitting beside him, took his hand and said softly, "I know. But you let your pain speak louder than your love." Her words stayed with me. We often forget that the people closest to us are also the ones most vulnerable to our anger. And in those heated moments, when we feel dismissed or misunderstood, the urge to lash out can be overwhelming. But here is the truth: choosing not to say something in anger is not suppressing your feelings. It is protecting your relationships. You can always express how you feel later, with calm, with clarity, with care. But you cannot unsay what was spoken in haste. That is why I teach people this simple practice: when anger rises, imagine your words as stones in your hand. Ask yourself, if I throw this, who will bleed? If the answer is someone you love, wait. Use that time to breathe, to reflect, to return to what you truly want, which is not to win, but to be seen, heard, and understood. Some of the wisest people I have met in life are those who have learned that silence is not absence. It is presence. It is the space between reaction and response. And in that space lives your power to choose differently. So the next time your heart beats fast and your mouth fills with words sharp as glass, pause. Choose love over pride. Choose patience over power. And remember, what you do not say today may be what keeps love alive tomorrow. 6. The true test of strength is staying kind in the face of disrespect. There are few things more difficult than remaining kind when someone has wronged you. When someone insults your intelligence, dismisses your opinion, or forgets your worth, the instinct is to defend yourself, sometimes with words that sting, other times with silence that freezes. But the older I grow and the more I witness human nature, the more I realize true strength does not lie in how hard you hit back. It lies in how gently you stand your ground without losing your grace. There's a man I once worked with named Harold. He was 81, a former school principal, sharp as ever, and deeply respected in his community. But he came to me not because of anything grand. He came because of his grandson. Harold loved his grandson more than anything. But the boy, now in his 20s, had begun speaking to him with impatience. "You already told me that, Grandpa," he'd say, rolling his eyes. Or worse, he would scroll through his phone while Harold tried to share a story. One day, in frustration, Harold snapped. "Maybe you should learn something about life before tuning out the people who actually lived it." The young man left the room and for weeks barely spoke to him. Harold didn't regret the truth behind his words. What he regretted was the tone, the edge, the way he had allowed someone else's immaturity to steal his own dignity. He looked at me and said, "I spent a lifetime teaching young people. Why did I forget everything I know in 1 minute of hurt?" It's a question many of us can relate to. As we grow older, we deserve respect. But we also have the opportunity to teach by example. The way we respond to rudeness, especially from the younger generation, is not just a reaction. It becomes a lesson. The kindest people I've met are not the ones who have never been hurt. They are the ones who have been hurt and chose not to become bitter. They are the ones who understand that kindness does not mean weakness. It means choosing the higher road, even when the lower road is right at your feet. So when someone speaks down to you, do not shrink. Stand tall, not with anger, but with self-respect. Say what needs to be said, but say it in a way you won't regret tomorrow. You may not change their behavior, but you will protect your own peace. And over time, that example may become the very thing that changes them too. The legacy we leave is not just in our words, but in the way we live. Be the kind of elder whose strength is quiet, whose wisdom is steady, and whose kindness is unshakable. That is the kind of power no insult can take away. 7. You deserve peace more than you deserve to be right. Some battles are not worth fighting, even when you are right. And some victories are not worth winning if the cost is your peace. We live in a world that constantly tells us to stand our ground, to speak our truth, to never let anyone walk over us. And while those messages can empower us at times, they can also exhaust us. Because not every confrontation needs our energy. Not every disagreement requires our voice. Not every offense demands correction. Over the years, I've worked with many older adults who come to me not because they are angry, but because they are tired. Tired of trying to prove themselves. Tired of defending old wounds. Tired of holding on to pain that keeps them from enjoying the years they've worked so hard to reach. One woman named Margaret, age 79, once said something to me I will never forget. "I spent the first half of my life trying to be right," she said. "And now I just want peace. Not because I've given up, but because I've finally realized what truly matters." Her words echo in my heart every time I see someone caught in a cycle of needing the last word, needing to be understood, needing others to admit fault before they can breathe again. Here's the truth: peace is not something others give you. It's something you give yourself when you choose to release the need to win. It is a conscious decision to value your well-being over your ego. It is knowing that the quiet joy of a walk at sunset or the laughter in your kitchen is more important than proving a point. It is learning that silence is not surrender, it's maturity. That walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. I often tell my clients, ask yourself not just am I right, but is this worth the peace I will lose? If holding onto your stance keeps you bitter, if needing an apology keeps you stuck, if replaying the argument robs you of sleep, maybe it's time to lay down your sword. This doesn't mean you don't deserve truth, fairness, or respect. You absolutely do. But sometimes the best way to restore your dignity is not by fighting harder, but by stepping back with grace. You are in a season of life that is meant for lightness. For mornings that begin with gratitude, not grudges. For conversations that bring laughter, not tension. For endings that feel soft, not sharp. So the next time you feel pulled into a battle that drains you, stop and ask yourself, would I rather be right or free? Choose freedom. Choose peace. Choose yourself. Because you deserve it now more than ever. So where does that leave us, after all these reflections on anger, forgiveness, and peace? It leaves us in a place of choice. Of awareness. Of quiet power. You now understand that anger is not your enemy, but letting it rule you is. That silence, when chosen with wisdom, can be more powerful than the loudest voice in the room. That letting go is not defeat, but liberation. These are not just emotional lessons. They are lifelong skills. Skills that can protect your health, preserve your relationships, and give you the kind of peace that no apology can offer and no conflict can take away. So take a moment. Breathe. Let today be the day you choose to stop giving your energy to what drains you and start giving your attention to what lifts you. Protect your peace the way you would protect your home. Guard it not with walls, but with wisdom. Not with anger, but with compassion. Let each sunrise remind you that you have another chance to live softly, speak gently, and love without conditions. And if this message spoke to something in your heart today, if it helped you feel seen, comforted, or understood, please don't let it end here. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss the conversations that matter. Share this video with someone you love who may be silently struggling. And if there's a moment, a line, or a lesson that stayed with you, leave a comment below. Because sometimes your words are exactly what someone else needs to hear to begin their own healing. Thank you for spending your time with us today. May your heart be light, your mind be clear, and your spirit be free. We'll see you in the next video.